Hey friend, I'm Brandon Gustafson with Assisted Living Investing. I help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. In today's video, we're going to be getting into the topic of what is a realistic ROI when it comes to investing in assisted living. So if you've been trying to figure that out and you want like the truth on it, make sure you stick around for today's video. Hey friend, welcome back to Assisted Living Investing. Excited to have you here with me on the channel. Before we get into our topic, I want to remind you to go and grab your free underwriting calculator at assistedlivinginvesting.net. It's the big blue box in the top right corner. Go grab that free underwriting calculator because it's going to help you out actually as we talk about our topic for today, which is what is a realistic ROI when it comes to investing in assisted living? I see this question a lot. People want to know like the truth. What's it going to look like? And we had a video on the channel a few weeks ago that was, should you do a 6-bed facility? So I'm going to link that up above so you can go and watch that when you're done with this video, because it's going to be really, really helpful for you as you're trying to figure out, can I do this? What's it going to look like? So as I go through this, just a disclaimer, I'm going to be talking about a bunch of numbers. We're going to try to throw those up on the screen for you just so that you can actually see them rather than me talking about it, because I know listening to people talk about numbers, it can be confusing and overwhelming. So we're going to try to throw those up on the screen so that it makes sense. So if you don't see a lot of me in this video, then make sure you like the video, because maybe you like that. But I'm hoping this really gets to be helpful for you as you're trying to get along your path to seeing if this is going to work for you. Okay, so with that said, that little bit of a disclaimer, let's talk about some numbers here. But before I do that, I do want to get into a couple, just like 3 definitions really quick. So let's talk about ROI. ROI is return on investment. So I want to give you the quick calculation for what that looks like. You're going to be doing your net profit, which is, hey, this is how much money I am getting. This is the profit that's coming to me after everything is said and done. This is my profit. Divide that by my investment. So I'm going to say this is how much money I put into it. Not what my debt service is, not how much I bought it for, but the actual amount of money that I put into it. Okay. So my investment, I'm going to take that number, net profit, divide it by total investment, and then I'm going to multiply that by 100. And that's going to give me my ROI. So this really helps you measure how much profit that you're going to make relative to your investments, what a lot of people like to look at. It's a very simple, very common metric for you to be looking at. Another one that I want you to be aware of is your net operating income, your NOI. This is your total revenue, all of the revenue that you made, and you're going to minus that from your operating expenses. But this is also before your debt service. Okay, so you're going to take debt service out of it. You're going to get your NOI, your net operating income, is going to be those numbers. So you can see exactly, how much are we making on this thing? It's actually a really good metric, and banks are going to want to see that when they're going through the underwriting process. So if you've looked at my underwriting calculator at all, then you're going to notice in there's a section that is for the debt services below that, so you can figure out what your NOI is going to be, and then you can actually figure out what your total profit's going to be, your net profit's going to be, after you take out the debt service payment. Then the other one that I want you to be aware of is cash flow. So this is the actual profit after all of the expenses are paid, including your mortgage. So this is the money that's coming to you. And when it comes to assisted living, ROI is great. All of those metrics, all those investment metrics, they're good. And things that I would encourage you to have an understanding of, know what your threshold is, know what you're getting into. But a lot of people are looking at these from a cash flow perspective as well. And so cash flow can be really important and something that I want you to be looking at. And that's actually what we're going to be focusing on quite a bit here in this video, is what that cash flow is going to look like. Rather than specifically the ROI, I'm going to give you the numbers, and then you can back your way into an ROI based off of what your investment's going to be, so you can see what that's going to look like. But cash flow is what I want to show you. So that's what we're going to be getting into here as we dive deeper into this video. Now, with that all said, the other disclaimer I'm going to give you is your investment amount, what you're putting into this, is going to be very specific to you, specific to your loan product, how much your down payment is going to be. There's a lot of variables that go into this. And so I'm trying to give you an idea of what expenses might look like, what your income might look like, and what that cash flow could potentially be, with the understanding that your situation could be different. So the numbers that I use, expenses or income, may be different. So I want you to take that into consideration as well. These are examples. This is a way for you to understand, hey, this is how I could figure this out. So please do not take this as exact gospel truth with what we're talking about. This is to help you and illustrate how you're going to figure out these numbers so you can see if it works for you. They're somewhat realistic. They're pretty close to real numbers, but they are not exact for your specific situation. That's what I'm going to tell you. Okay, so make sure you keep that in mind as we go through this. All right, first up, we're going to be talking about expenses. You got to understand what they are. There's going to be 5 big ones that we're going to go through, and then there's miscellaneous. Let's talk about payroll. Okay, so payroll is, let's say staff are going to be, on average, they're earning about $19 an hour. Okay, so you have a staff member, they get paid $19 an hour. For each shift that you have, you're going to have 1.5 staff there for every shift. So maybe you have a busier time of day, you've got 2 people there, but they're only there for 4 hours and then they leave. And for the rest of that shift, you just have 1 person. Okay, so that's the example here. You have about 1.5 FTE, full-time equivalent employees, 1.5 people. It seems very reasonable, especially for smaller assisted living facilities. So that's an assumption we're making. Let's say the administrator is going to make $50,000 per year. So administrator is $50,000 per year. Could be higher, could be lower, depends on where you're at. 50, pretty average right there. So if I'm going to take all of that, the $19 an hour for 1.5 staff members per shift, and I have my administrator making $50,000 a year, my payroll for that group of people is $17,847 per month. That's just payroll. So you can see already, like, this is huge expense. That doesn't include payroll taxes. So that's going to be like an additional 10% on top of it. So let's say add an extra $1,700 on top of that to give you an idea. You're getting really close to about $20,000 per month. And I've got to say, in some scenarios, that's even low. So you got to keep that in mind. We're going to keep math simple. We're going to give you the real numbers, overlaying things. $18,000 per month in payroll. Okay. Debt service. This is the amount of money that you're paying for a house. Let's say you purchased the house, $650,000. It could be an existing facility, could be a house that you're renovating. $650,000, that's what your mortgage amount is for. You are doing a 25-year loan on it, 10% is the rate. You're looking at a monthly payment here of $5,908. Okay, so we're about $5,900 there in just our debt service. Now let's talk about food costs. Our food costs, we're going to say $10 per resident per day. And I've got to be honest with you, this is a little bit high. I typically use $8 per resident per day as my number. And I know some of you think $8 per resident per day. There is no way in this economy that is true. I have done this analysis several times. It actually plays out. It's absolutely true. So it's very possible. You have to remember, generally, you're working with elderly individuals who don't eat a ton of food. And while you are providing snacks and things like that in your grocery budget, they're not eating that much, and you're buying it in bulk, and so you get some discounts there as well. And there's ways to really help you meal plan and take advantage of some of the other things that are out there. Okay, so we're going to be conservative. We're going to say $10 per resident per day here. We're going to look at this kind of in the way of, we got 3 different facility sizes. One's a 6-bed facility, one's a 10-bed facility, and one's a 16-bed facility. So in that facility, 6 beds, we're going to be spending about $1,800 per month. In a 10-bed facility, it's about $3,000 per month. You know, you would say $10 per resident, $10, 10 residents times 30, that's $3,000. That's how we get to that number. Now, 16 residents, we're at $4,800 per month in food. So there's our food costs. Now let's talk a little bit about insurance. So insurance, you're going to need property insurance, you're going to need liability insurance, you're going to need your workers' comp insurance. Those are the 3 big ones that you need. Your area, you might need other special types of insurance. Work with an insurance broker. It's going to tell you. Your insurance, $2,000 a month. Probably going to be a little bit less, but going to depend on a lot of factors. Now let's talk here a little bit about your utilities. So utilities is your internet, your waste, your gas, your power, TV bills, whatever you want to throw in there. On average, I've seen our facilities kind of average out at about $1,000 a month. Sometimes you're going to have big months. Summer, power bills are going to be high. Winter, your gas bill is going to be high. Overall, averages out about $1,000 a month. That's for my houses. Yours may be different. If you own the house, you're going to know pretty clearly what those numbers are. Next is miscellaneous expenses. So what I'm going to assume, those 5 big ones. So we have wages, we've got food for the residents, we have insurance, we have our debt service, and we have our utilities. Those 5 typically going to take about 80%, maybe as much as 90% of your total operating budget. It takes up a huge chunk. So if you can really hone in on those 5 big expenses, you're going to be, 90% of the way to figuring out what the expenses are going to look like for you with your facility. Now, your miscellaneous expenses, these are just the other things that happen. Activities, you've got decorations, just whatever else that comes up, buying supplies, whatever. Office supplies, supplies for the residents, toilet paper, laundry, detergent, all of those types of things. They're going to fall into this miscellaneous chunk. We're going to say about 20% of those main expenses. So in our scenario here, we're going to say it's about $5,711 to be exact, because I did math on this. Okay, so about $5,700 is what we're looking at. Okay, now let's look at our expenses here. And what we're going to say here, again, we're going back to this 6-bed, this 10-bed, and this 16-bed facility to kind of give you an idea of what this might look like from an ROI perspective, what your net profit's going to look like, that cash flow coming in to you on a monthly basis, what's that going to look like? So, 6-bed facility. So we're going to make an assumption that $4,500 per month is what our residents are paying. We're also going to assume, and this is not a good assumption, we're going to assume 100% occupancy. And I highly suggest that you be at 80 to 90% occupancy when you do your underwriting, but for this example, we're going to make an assumption here. And then we've got our 6, our 10, and our 16-bed facility, so you can kind of see the differences here. 6-bed facility, we have $4,500 per month. 6 residents, we have $27,000 in income coming in. Seems like a good number, right? But if you remember back to our example of the staffing, that almost sucks all of it up. And then when we throw in our debt service, we don't have enough money to feed our residents at that point. So that's something you got to be aware of. So our total expenses in this example, we're at about $42,472, right? So we are losing $15,472 per month. Our ROI is not great. So we are operating at a loss. We're not in a good spot there. Things are not looking good. Now, I do want to caution you, and I mentioned this, we have our 6-bed facility video. I want you to go watch that. This does not mean that a 6-bed facility cannot work for you. It absolutely can. But you have to get really familiar with the numbers. You have to know what you're looking in. You have to not just do all these blanket numbers that I'm doing to illustrate my purposes for you. You need to look at your specific situation, because it might be okay. It might not, but it might be fine. So you want to be looking at that and get really familiar with what you're looking at there. Okay. Now let's move on to the 10-bed facility. We have a 10-bed facility, $4,500 per month. Again, we're assuming 100% occupancy, 10 residents. We got $45,000 in income coming in a month. Our total expenses, they're a little bit higher than the 6-bed facility because we have more residents. We're paying a little bit more for food and things like that. Our total expenses in this scenario, we're going to say it's $43,912 per month. So we're getting a net profit here of about $1,000, close to $1,100 per month. But we're making a lot of assumptions here. So even this 10-bed facility in this scenario, oh man, I was feeling like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm breaking even for sure, but am I making millions of dollars? No. Am I making tens of thousands of dollars in a year? Yeah. So you have to look at this. Again, don't make the assumption that what I'm telling you is exact. I mean, if we changed our number from $4,500 a month up to $6,000, now we have $60,000 in income coming in at that $43,000 in expenses. Now we're cash flowing $16,000 a month. Huge difference, right? And so maybe the question is $4,500 my base, or do I need to cater to a group that does $6,000? Who do I want to be serving there? If I want to be doing something that's low cost, are there expenses that I can cut that don't ruin the experience for the resident, but are still allowing us to be profitable? These are questions you got to ask yourself, because if you don't understand the expenses or the income or how all of these things work, it can really ruin you as you get along. But if you understand them, you understand your market, and you can make a 4-bed facility work if you have the right things in place. You just need to understand what that's going to look like for you. If you need help with it, make sure you go and grab the Launchpad. We're going to have that linked down below. It helps you build out the foundation and really focus on this underwriting piece to see if it's going to be profitable. Now, let's move over to our 16-bed facility. So 16-bed facility, $4,500 per month. We're getting $72,000 in income, which is great. That's 100% occupied, obviously. But now let's look at our expenses. Expenses, again, a little bit higher. We have more residents. We're going to be at $25,928 per month here. So our net profit on a monthly basis is $25,928 per month in this scenario. Like, all of a sudden, that number that you have heard from all kinds of people on YouTube, $10,000 per month, I'm cash flowing this XYZ. Now it becomes true. You can see that here in the numbers at this price point, at all of the examples that I've given you. It can start to make sense. You can start to cash flow. But again, I got to caution you, like, 100%, is that realistic? You have to be so comfortable with these numbers. You have to know what you're getting into. You cannot just make assumptions that everything's going to be fine. You cannot do that. That's what I'm here to do, to help coach you. And if you join my mastermind program, which I'd love to have you do, go to alimastermind.com and apply for that. I'm going to give you the feedback that you need to see if this is realistic. Are you missing numbers? Are you doing the things that you need to be doing? I will guide you. I will help you out through the process and make sure you don't miss steps and make a bad investment. But I want you to go into this with the understanding that small facilities have very tight margins. You can still be profitable. Big facilities are going to have higher margins, but there's a lot that goes into caring for 16 versus 6 residents. And so what are you going to be comfortable with? You have to understand those things. You cannot go into this blindly. You need to go in with your eyes wide open, and you need to not make assumptions. You need to look at the numbers for real to make sure that it's going to work. So what does this mean? Again, disclaimer, every single deal is unique. Location, financing, operations, all of those things can drastically change for each situation, and they will change the deal drastically as well. So you cannot use this example as the thing that says, hey, Brandon said 16 beds, I could cash flow $25,000 a month. Yeah, it's potential. Yeah, for sure. You could also do it with a 4-bed facility if you were charging people $15,000, $20,000 a month. Like, I don't know. That could be something that you want to do. Every deal needs to be taken into consideration on a case-by-case basis. So that's the disclaimer. So if you are going to be looking at assisted living as an investment and you want to know the ROI and the cash flow and all of those things, use the example that I just gave you. Plug in your numbers there. Use the calculator. Go to assistedlivinginvesting.net. Grab the calculator, big blue box in the top right corner. You're going to see that thing. You're going to get it, and you're going to plug those numbers that we talked about here for your situation. You're going to plug those numbers in here, and you're going to see if this is going to work for you. And if it doesn't, don't get discouraged. Find another opportunity. There is a deal out there. I promise you, there's a way to make things work. You just have to figure out what they are. I'd love to help you do that. You can do that through applying to the mastermind program, alimastermind.com. We covered a ton of information here in this video. If you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell as well. I just want you to know going into this, like, what is real and what's not, and how can you do this. And you just have to understand what you're getting into and not just follow somebody blindly because you heard them on YouTube on a short that said that, oh, I'm making $10,000 per month and my work life is great. Don't just assume that that's happening. You got to put in the work and make sure that it really is working, that it's going to cash flow that much. It's possible. It is 100% possible for you to do that. But it depends on the situation, so you have to understand that as you get into it. Again, like the video, subscribe, ring the bell. Make sure you are doing those things so you get notified every time we put out content on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, so I can help you out. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started? At Assisted Living Investing, I'm here to help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. I love helping and coaching people. It is one of my favorite things to do. I'd love to do that for you. And I want you to remember that it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Just keep going step by step by step. And I promise you, if you do and you are consistent and persistent, you are going to be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.